On other days, instead of importing all the raw materials for these gorgeous pieces of aluminum, they are simply made from recycled materials.
Now this is the extrusion line of Negalex Limited, where the process of making aluminum profiles start from. The raw materials are brought in here and are blended, beaten into different shapes and sizes. I have with me the production manager of Negalex Limited, Mr. Quadri Latif. Thank you so much for joining us on BOI Weekly. Let me quickly ask you, I understand that this extrusion line is the biggest in Nigeria. Tell us more about it.
Yes, just as you rightly said, the extrusion line here, which has the capacity of 2,200 metric tons, is actually the largest in Nigeria so far as at today. And then I need to mention here before I go into the extrusion line itself, that this project behind us is actually made possible with the support of the BOI, the Bank of Industry. The line has the capacity of 2,200 metric tons, and that's why we call it P22. And it has the capacity of producing up to a ton, which is 1,000 kg in an hour. Now, when we now look at how has this actually improved the life of citizens of Nigeria generally, we look at it from the employment opportunity it has provided. Because here we run about 2 shifts on daily basis, and we have about 8 staff for a shift, meaning we have about 16 staff within the section. Where we have the supervisor, we have the operator, we have the assistant operator, and there's a point where you stretch, we have the stretcher and the loaders as well. So this is to tell you that at least we have 16 people, which are Nigerians, that have been provided employment just with the support of the project being made possible by BOI. It is important here that we mention that there is no extrusion when the raw material is not available. These billets are loaded here, ready for the extrusion process. And once the extrusion is ongoing, the billets drop on the rail one by one, and as the one on the rail is exhausted, another one drops. And it is important to mention here that just in there, we have what we call the furnace. And the furnace is the one that is going to melt the billet, not completely melted, but it's going to melt it, heat it, and melt it to an extent such that when it is going through the extrusion process, it's going to have a free flow based on the force that will be applied by the ram. So the force of the machine is the one that is going to push the billet through the mold, and the mold is otherwise called the die. We also manufacture this raw material here, basically, because we use like 40% to 50% of our internally generated scrap to get our raw material, while the remaining ones are imported from abroad. As you can see behind me, these are the scraps that are generated from the extrusion line, meaning in aluminium, there is nothing like scrap. Even when they are generated at the point of extrusion as scrap, we still make use of them as input into production at the point of remelt, meaning that we heat them with the oven at the remelt to a particular degree, after which we now use the table there to cast the log. Although the log, when we compare this log to the imported one, there is only slight difference in terms of the flow at the point of extrusion.
This right here is the surface finish section, where the extruded profile is being surface coated. The surface of the aluminum profile produced are taken through a facelift to customers' specification.
Here what we have basically is the powder coating section, which deal majorly with using powder to change the surface of the profile to specify color, and the anodizing, which is more of anodization process that changes the surface of a mill finish profile or mill finish aluminum into a customer specified color. But it's also important to mention here that at every point of our production, there is what you call QC men. They are always there to check the quality of what is coming out and what is coming in. What we can see here is where the point where the loading of the press finish profile is done. As you can see, the elevator is what we use to raise the profile. And what they do basically here is they drill the profile, they hook it, and it goes through the conveyor into the treatment tank. The treatment tank is the one that will remove every stains on the profile. Then with the last treatment tank there is the one we call the chromatizing tank. And that is the one that is going to change the surface of the profile. By changing the surface, this will give room for powder to stick to the surface of the profile. Because once the surface is chromatized and the powder is sprayed on the surface, then it's going to stick to it. But to permanently maintain this powder on the profile, because even after spraying the powder on the chromatized surface, there's still tendency that the powder will fall off. But we now use what we call the oven, which we use in baking the profile, in curing it, so that the powder can permanently stick to it. So the treatment tank starts from here, it goes in there, and at the back is where we have the coating chamber, and once coating booth, and once it's coated, it goes into the oven for baking, and it comes out in white, as you can see here. This is press finish material, while this one is already coated material. So the loading starts here, and the offloading ends here.
The aluminum profile are hanged carefully in a vertical orientation like it's done here. And then they are ready for the coating process.
This is where the press finish profile is, the surface of the press finish profile is changed to the required color. As you can see here, this is the coating booth, and we have the reciprocator with guns that moves up and down. And the essence of moving up and down is to spray the powder on the surface of the profile. And as the treated profile are going into the chamber, it turns at 360 degrees, meaning the coating is done around the surface of the profile. And once that is done, it comes out of the boat, go into the oven for baking, after which it comes out as a finished profile.
Finally, is the anodizing process.
Now we are back to anodizing, and as you can see behind me, we have beams that have been loaded, some of them already finished, and some of them we are still working on them. Anodizing, unlike powder, makes use of chemical and electrolysis. What we have here, we have beam, we have profiles loaded on them, which is aluminum profiles, and we make sure that this aluminum profile have contact with the rod and the beam. And the reason why this has to be in place is because of the process that is going to happen there on the line. Because it's more of electrolysis, and we use chemical to perform this. So what we do is we make sure all these contacts are in place, so that by the time we are placing the beam and we are dipping it into the tank of the solution, it's also having contacts with the tank itself and with the chemical inside the tank.
The support of the Bank of Industry has finally put Nigalex Limited in the lead, producing these fine aluminum profiles, taken through the process of extrusion by the highest quality standard known in the business, with its team of largely highly professional Nigerians. Aluminum products from here are said to be of the best quality. Currently, about 50% of the nation's aluminum products are imported. The CEO of Nigalex believes the opportunities are indeed endless for the country if existing policies are enforced to reduce the rate of imports.
The problems in the oil sector, the dwindling revenue from the oil sector, is a blessing in disguise, because that is the way, that is what will force the government to look inward, to diversify the economy. And it's a step in the right direction, because I now see Nigalex, filling that gap. Because right now, 50% of aluminum consumption in Nigeria is imported, and they are mostly substandard products. But we've done analysis. We've been meeting we met with the finance minister then, and we put it to them that we have the capacity. That is, those of us in the primary aluminum in Nigeria, we call them primary aluminum producers. We have a body. We've met and we said that 50% that you are importing, because it's as if we are exporting our jobs to China, that we are ready to close it. We have the technology, we have the equipment, and we could do the best quality that you can get anywhere in the world. So I see Nigales being part of that one, and as the leader, since we started this thing, we want to champion it, that we will conserve foreign exchange. We have the capacity, to be able to produce good quality so that we don't spend any of our foreign exchange, And then as we do that, we'll be adding to the GDP. The economy will be growing. As we do that, we'll be creating more employment. I always tell people, if, for instance, the government, I'm not even asking for prohibition, total prohibition of imports. But what other countries do is that they use tariff to protect. And when you use tariff, you don't just stop at putting tariff, you have to enforce it at a port of entry. All the agencies must be ready to work, and this is the time to change. Say, okay, now we want to enforce the tariff. If we enforce the tariff, I bet you, with the quality we make, people will look inward. Not only for aluminum, for all other sectors, textile, everything, so that we'll be able to grow the economy and provide jobs for our teeming youths.
And that'll be all on our program today. Please log on to boinigeria.com to find suitable funding options for your business. Also, if you would like to make inquiries about the program, send an email to boiweekly@channelstv.com. Also, you can follow me on Twitter @AdeshewaJosh. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again.